Jersey. Happy Monday. We hope everyone had a lovely weekend. We had some interesting weather. We had some snow. We had some sun. Hopefully, we had some celebrations of the mothers in your life that were different, but hopefully still joyful. And we're back and ready for another week. Another week that we are social distancing and sheltering in place. And we are grateful for technology like Facebook to keep us connected during this time. And grateful that the team at the YW has rallied and we've put together YW TV to help keep you hopefully engaged and inspired and educated on some issues that are important right now. And so with that, we felt it was very important today to bring attention to a very specific issue that many of us who have children in our home, whether they're teens or younger children, are very lucky, are very possibly and likely seeing an increase in screen time that's happening in our homes. And obviously, one of the challenges that comes with that is when children are spending a lot of time online, even if it's for school and even if sometimes they're doing it a little bit for socializing. They're using a lot of different platforms and possibly video games and other opportunities to stay connected, which are also a place that child online predators can be lurking. And it's a very interesting platform because it's a global tool, which means that someone from anywhere in the world could be contacting your children and trying to harass them or groom them for something. And it's definitely an issue that parents have been aware of, but now, especially when parents' attention might be a little diverted with homeschooling and have another child maybe, or working and other issues, caring for someone else in the home, that children might have more free reign online. So with that, we brought you the experts today. And I'm so happy to have Lieutenant John Pizzuro, who is the New Jersey commander of the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force. He is here to share some tips to help parents steer their children away from cyber predators. He has 24 years of experience with the New Jersey State Police, and in that role he's also the commander of the New Jersey Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force. He also, in addition to running the task force, oversees 70 affiliate law enforcement agencies, and he's successfully investigated, managed, and supervised these types of crimes. Internet crimes against children, child exploitation, fraud involving nonprofit and financial institutions, bribery, corruption, money laundering, tax evasion, organized crime, racketeering, homicide, terrorism, international narcotics, and human trafficking. You've been busy, Lieutenant, and we're grateful that you made some time to join us. And next to the lieutenant in the screen is a good friend and colleague of mine, Miss Kate Lee, who is the executive director of the New Jersey Coalition Against Human Trafficking, which is an advocacy organization that focuses on prevention of trafficking through education. She was also appointed to the Governor's Council Against Sexual Violence in 2009 and served as its co-chair from 2013 to 2018. And she currently serves on the New Jersey Department of Education's working group on human trafficking prevention and procedures for schools. This issue is important to me and important to the YWCA of Northern New Jersey. Obviously, we're connected to so many children and families in our community, so we've been an active participant and supporter of the coalition for many years now. Personally, I am the co-chair of the legislative subcommittee on the task force, and I am a firm believer that this is always a conversation that we should be having with our children and be having in our community to educate ourselves. But right now, it's even more important to stay focused. So after all that big introduction, I want to thank you both for making the time this morning to join us from your homes to share such important information.
Well, thanks for having us.
Thanks. So I'll start, Helen. So
yeah, please do. So tell us a little bit about I know we're talking about how things are now, but in general, can you give us a little bit of background about how predators lure children online?
All right. So everyone's life is this, right? Today. So one of the things is screen time. You mentioned screen time before. Screen time has gone up exponentially. And there's a couple reasons for that. And you have like dopamine. So we've become a dopamine dependent society. We're about likes, followers, and views, right? So that has really opened us up to be really victimized today, is because it's that attention seeking behavior that we all feel. Let's say we're putting this on social media. Tell me today you feel better if you got 1,000 views as opposed to 100 views.
True.
So we're all looking at those numbers. So even as adults, so children, especially 7, 8, 9, and 12, 13, your prefrontal cortex isn't developed. So your decision-making capability is completely out the window. So I think that's one of the challenges that you have. And that's what predators rely on. Predators rely on isolation. We don't know with whatever side of the aisle you're on, you're going to agree with what you are political or what your interests are. So the idea is that we don't know what's real or not, especially now take a 7, 8-year-old, a 9-year-old. And the reason I say that is because predators are able to manipulate children easier today than ever before. So if you think about it from this perspective, is that take the most dangerous alley in place in the world. Would you want your children there, right? You're going to take precautions when you go to that area. If you had to go to that area, you would take precautions. But because you're in the safety of your own house, in your own bedroom, it lures you into a false sense of security. And you think that because I'm here and because I'm home, I can't be hurt. And once those images start, that's really what's been happening. I'll give you, even before COVID-19, we've gone up from, statistically, we had 2,000 cyber tips from the National Center of Missing and Exploited Children in 2015. Last year we had 6,000. This year, post COVID-19, we'll probably look at 9,000 to 10,000.
Wow.
Arrests went from 143 in 2015 to 384. So more than ever, our children are being victimized at a level that's far, far higher than ever before.
Those numbers are astounding. And I know Kate and I are familiar with them, and even being familiar with them and doing the work, they're still astounding to see the jumps that are happening. And I can attest, I have 7-year-old twins, and, obviously all day long they're on devices now because that's how they're being homeschooled. But afterwards, my son is always jumping on Minecraft or Roblox, and, people chatting with him, and my husband and I really have to sit next to him and, monitor those communications, because I think that's exactly what you're saying. They kind of pull them in.
Well, and there's reasons, there are neurological reasons, because we need dopamine, right? It's that feel good neurotransmitter, but we're not getting oxytocin, we're not getting serotonin. So that what's happening is, for children, is that connection is that you need more and more and more, like a drug, in order for to satisfy it. And as far as games, if you think about this, so if your 7-year-old twins, if they were outside playing wiffle ball, and a 40-year-old came there and started playing wiffle ball with your 2 7-year-olds, would you find that odd? Yeah, very, right? But in the gaming industry, you'll have a 40-year-old man playing with a 7-year-old or a 14-year-old, all on these platforms. One thing parents don't look at enough is the chats within the games, within Minecraft, Roblox, Fortnite, because they all have chat applications within that. So we're always looking at the phone, but we're not looking at the Xbox or the Sony PlayStation, which in fact has those chat platforms in there.
Yeah, and I can say, I again, because we sit with my son when he's playing, and people have reached out to him to chat, and we've had to train him to not respond to it and to ask us if he can respond. And but I can see how easily just that they could be pulled into an exchange, and then the next thing be giving out information that would be alarming for a stranger to have.
And for the parents, this is what I'm going to tell you what a predator does. They're going to look for your child that doesn't have enough likes, doesn't have enough viewers, who's somewhat isolated, and they're just going to spend time with them. They're going to compliment them. They're going to give them skins for a Fortnite game. They're going to engage them in conversation. And what they're going to do is that there's this thing called even rapport building. Is what do we like talking about? Ourselves, right? So what they're going to do is mimic the children's conversation. So they're going to use the same words that your children uses against them, like, and find those key words. Wow, this person's like me. This person really gets me. This person understands me. And then after time, no one else understands you like I do. Yeah, you're right. And because of that, that's one of the issues that children are susceptible. So you have the decision making. The other thing for parents is today self-production, which means children taking their own sexual explicit videos of ages 6, 7, 8, and 9 has increased by 400% over the last couple of years. So it's very easy for children because let's face it, if you go into the bathroom and take a picture of yourself and you send it, you're not thinking about it. One of the challenges, and Kate and I have had this discussion before, as parents, is that if your child ever does that, don't react to the point like, how can you do this? How many times? Children will do it. Your own children are going to do it. So victim shaming, as they call it, the last thing you want to do is you want to encourage healthy conversations, because I guarantee you, anyone who's listening, 1 out of 2 parents, something that's going to happen to.
And so, I'm talking about my 7-year-old, but a lot of what this like thing in this kind of society that we've become, where people are seeking, that kind of attention. What about with the teen ages? I mean, where for parents, maybe they may not be, what are the age groups that they should be really worrying about this in? I know we know, but I want to make sure that they understand.
Well, for parents, you have to start at 6, 7 years old today. Yeah. Because again, there was a and I don't have the article, but there was an article where they recommended when a phone should be given to a child, and then screen time, what appropriate screen time. But again, everyone's online. So you're online at a younger age. You have to start the conversation earlier. The 14, 15, 16, they've already established that behavior. I think we need to have a better conversation where we're telling him, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this. And let's face it, when we tell children don't do that, what are they going to do? They're going to do it. So.
Run to it. Exactly. So what are some things that parents can be doing to, limit the potential of this happening to their children and then becoming victims of these types of crimes?
Well, 1, it's conversation communication. Number 2, it's structure. Your Apple iOS device or your Android, they all have screen time locks on there. One of the things that I recommend is limiting screen time. I think that's very important. So you can put it where after 2 hours, your phone becomes a brick. Basically, all it does is dial 911. So you have that. Verizon, for example, you can go in and you can set limits on the person's phone or on their Wi-Fi capabilities. So a lot of people they don't have their phone, but it doesn't matter. Like even an Apple, an iTouch, or anything that has a platform where you're able to communicate, and all you need is Wi-Fi. So it starts really conversation. Screen time is very important. I would put those limits on screen time, because again, that's the more screen time that you have, the more likely you are not only to be addicted to it, but you fall into the dopamine hits, you fall into the constant attention. And that's where the decision making for children, let's face it, for us, we're still trying to make good decisions. Never mind our 8 and 12, 8 years old and 9 years old. So.
Very, very true. So not that I want to scare parents, but I want them to just, have a little bit of information about, we talk about predators trying to connect with them online. What could that lead to? What are the kind of crimes that we're trying to keep them from, getting pulled into?
Okay, so there's a couple different crimes. And we call the CSAM, which is child sexually abuse material. So anytime sexual explicit materials, it used to be called child pornography, but we're trying to call it what it really is, because it's abuse material. So at number 1 is they will take your pictures, and even the most innocent pictures. I was having this conversation with my sister, who wanted to post an innocent image of her child in a bathtub. I look at it is because I know there's people that are going to look at and use that material later on. So that's number 1, is any images, they'll give you sexually explicit videos. Then they will get them to create sex acts. We had an individual arrested in New Jersey earlier this year who had 67 victims between the ages of 6 and 13, where they sent them sexual explicit videos. So you go from there, and then you go to predators trying to get the child out of the house to lure them and then take them. So Alicia Kozak is a known person that happened to, and this is going back in MySpace. So you think about this from a fantasy perspective. When does fantasy become reality? And these predators, this is where they start, and then eventually it's going to be hands-on. I had one individual tell me that he's a category 3 pedophile, and he said that in a category 3 is that what I do is that I want to do something with a kid, but if that I have the opportunity. So again, it's the opportunity. The more you expose yourself to that opportunity, the more likely you are to be victimized.
Wow, so much information. I hope parents are taking note. And just so parents know, if the lieutenant and obviously through the coalition will be attaching links to this viewing of our Facebook Live, and so you can be able to access more information on this if you'd like to research it further. So Lieutenant, is there anything else that we should know on this issue before we jump into talking a little bit more broader about the coalition?
No, what I'll just do is www.icactaskforce.org, www.netsmarts, netsmarts.org. They have very good programs, and Common Sense Media has some good programs. So
Great.
For people that want to know more, they can go to those websites.
Wonderful. And we'll make sure that those are all linked, as I said, in the comments to this event. And also for anybody watching, if you're watching this and thinking, wow, I really wish that so-and-so in my life had seen this, do not despair. This will live on our Facebook page. It will also live on our YouTube channel, and you can share it. And anyone can watch it at any time. They don't have to be watching it live with us right now. And again, we will put all the links that the lieutenant just shared, and links about the coalition and other key organizations on the comments as well. So Kate, let's talk for a moment about the coalition. So for folks who may not be familiar with it, not like the three of us, but others, could you share a little bit about the work of the coalition and how long it's been around? And
Right. Yeah, well, we've been around for 9 years as a coalition, but we represent over 180 organizations in the state. And many of those organizations have been working on that a lot longer. So it's a group of people. The leaders of the organization are in our operating council, and they really do have a great deal of expertise going back, some of them decades. So we're a great group, but we are fully volunteer. This is if you like, a issue that isn't well funded. It's not, people don't think to support us. So we went all volunteer because we need to get this message out. And just jumping on what Lieutenant Pizzuro had said, we've created our own web page on our website. So it's njhumantrafficking.org/COVID-19. And then we put John's great video that he did. We spent a whole hour with him running through a presentation. So you can view it there. You can find the links to these various age-appropriate ways to have conversations with your kids, because I think it's quite daunting.
mm-hmm.
How do I begin? I've got a 13-year-old. I've never had this conversation. Can I start now? And absolutely start whenever you can. Frankly, speaking as a parent, we are stuck having, dinners together now, much more than we were ever able to. My kids would go off to do sports and stuff, but now we can have those great dinner conversations. And, there's nothing better than a conversation about what games they're playing. They love to talk about Animal Crossing. So start the conversation there, and then gradually sort of get into, well, who else are you interacting with? And then take it from there. So we just want to really empower families, not frighten them. And I'd also say that if you are watching this, don't just take this as information for your family. Share this with your communities. So the coalition's mission is to unite our communities to abolish human trafficking. We see community responsibility. We need to spread this out. So if you're hearing this, now share it. Share it with everyone you know, because we want to keep absolutely everyone safe.
Yeah, and I would also say, anyone who watches our Facebook Lives and been part of our conversations know that we encourage these conversations age appropriate from a very young age. There's no reason in pre-K you can't start having conversations and then, continue them each year. So with that though, Kate, and I agree, this is a time when families are together more and don't necessarily have the ability, or not necessarily split because of, the fact that we are sheltering in place. So it is a wonderful opportunity to raise all of the conversations that we've been bringing you in these Facebook Lives for sure. So human trafficking is a large issue that's not doesn't just impact children. And for those that are watching that maybe are not familiar with it, could we give them a little bit of understanding of the issue at large? We did a wonderful Facebook Live about a week or two ago that focused on domestic violence and child abuse and how these communities are being impacted, um, even more significantly or differently, I should say, now that we're sheltering in place. And I know that we're seeing similar impact with human trafficking survivors. So could you maybe share a little bit about what human trafficking is and then maybe how COVID is impacting our survivors and our work?
Right. So certainly I think that there's a great misunderstanding about human trafficking. The words itself, they're a little confusing. And you hear lots of people misunderstanding just because they think they understand it. But the definition of human trafficking is the use of force, fraud, or coercion for the purpose of forced labor or sexual exploitation. And I think folks get stuck on that first one. They get stuck on force, forgetting the fraud and coercion. And they are sort of, the movie Taken, really, that's where it's focused. And anything I see oftentimes, it's all about the force. And frankly, there is so much more that happens, but there's so much more going on in the realm of trickery, false promises, become my boyfriend or girlfriend and I'll love you. And then the coercion, I'll do something to you or your family. Those are used so much more in this world. And I think that it makes families vulnerable if they don't understand the full gamut of what trafficking can start looking like. And I think that's why right now during COVID, what you're seeing is that ultimate thing that we talk about so often, but is often misunderstood. And people think it's all about vans driving around. They're focused on that and forgetting this wider area. So talking about grooming is critically important. And that's what, is going on right now. But there might be less, if you like, a lot of trafficking takes place in hotels and motels, right? They are not as open. People apparently are not going out to, use traffic victims as much in the sex or sexual exploitation world. However, there might be a lot more forced labor going on. We have to keep an eye on. It's hard. This is an underreported, massively underreported crime. So it's hard to know the effects until maybe afterwards. But right now, this is the time when grooming takes place. And that's a critical piece of trafficking when, as John had mentioned, making someone feel like you're the only person in their life and your family doesn't understand you. We do have cases that we're hearing about of quite serious grooming taking place where somebody wants to take someone to another country and they don't believe that their family understands them because this person's offering them all this opportunity and love that they so desperately crave. So grooming is what we want to think about. It can happen in person, but right now it's happening online, and it's what happens next, which is going to be the scary thing.
So I think, in my conversations with people about human trafficking, those that don't know a lot about it, one of the popular misunderstandings is that it's not something that happens in New Jersey, that it's something that happens, in other parts of the country and other continents and, isn't really happening here locally. Can you share a little bit about the prevalence of human trafficking in New Jersey and in this country, just to give people some perspective?
Right. So just globally, if you can imagine, there have been some global big studies done, and they put the number of human trafficking victims at any given time at approximately 25 million. You can broaden the definition of modern slavery because it's one form of modern slavery, but human trafficking alone, that's 25 million. And so when you look at that globally, there is a far higher proportion of forced labor globally to sexual exploitation, something like 70-30. 70% forced labor to 30% sexual exploitation, sex trafficking, child sex trafficking, and so on. When you come to the United States, that flips around, right? So we have a far higher proportion in this country of sexual exploitation to forced labor, so the statistics show. But when you drill down and you look at the number of people, that sort of 70-80% who are being sexually exploited in sex trafficking. People are very shocked to hear that 80% of those are US citizens and oftentimes children. They imagine it is something that's happening, people coming from another country to the United States to be abused, which does happen, but it's the percentage that's so shocking. And so oftentimes it's young people, typically sort of those teenage years, who maybe don't have a supportive home life or are looking for something more, and then they are the ones who are groomed and then trafficked. So in New Jersey, we don't have, as I said, good statistics, but one of our service providers shares their statistics. They've been in operation since 2014 for the last 6 years. And in those years, they have over 650 clients. Some of those are at risk of trafficking, but most of those are trafficked victims. And they have 90%, in fact, are sex trafficking victims. The ages, shockingly, are between 9 and 75. This is happening throughout New Jersey to everybody at pretty much every age. So it is very widespread.
So again, I mean, folks watching, that's why it was important for us to share the piece about children and not being on the internet, because obviously that is one mechanism. When we're hearing these statistics from Kate about the ages, that's really one mechanism to get to the younger set, but it even is a mechanism that's used to get to teens and to adults. That's where a lot of the contacts and relationships start. I know for a lot of us in New Jersey, we really started hearing about human trafficking when the Super Bowl came locally. And that's when it got a lot of attention, which was positive on one sense, but also maybe gave people the misunderstanding that it really, is centered around events like that and not prevalent every single day in lots of different ways.
Absolutely.
For sure. So tell us if individuals watching, Kate, want to get more involved with the coalition. Tell us a little bit about the committees and, the organization, and how your average citizen who just wants to learn more, protect themselves, protect their communities, what they can do.
So yeah, we are, as I say, fully volunteer run, and we're very large. We have multiple committees, more than a dozen committees. Many of them sort of are open to special groups. So there's a healthcare committee, an amazing healthcare committee made up of healthcare professionals teaching each other how to respond if somebody comes in and sees them and who might be a victim of human trafficking, how to manage to get that information from them safely, that's safe for the victim and safe for themselves. We've also got an education committee made up of educators, administrators in education, and students working to get messages to kids. We run a great program every year called Locker Slam, where we get school kids to put magnets on their lockers and raise awareness. And we're trying to really find ways to empower everybody. So there is a committee for everyone, whether you want, like you and I, to do the legislative work and make good policy that's going to really help our state understand what's going on, or whether it's somebody that just wants to raise awareness, we've got a committee for you. So there is a place for everybody. And honestly, we depend upon volunteers. That's how we run. So everybody is welcome, and they can join one of our committees just by going on our website.
And I do encourage parents, I mean, your schools can get involved in these programs, and if they aren't, it's just a matter of linking them to the coalition. There's so many activities and opportunities for engagement. And again, we have to start young at educating, and, having conversations like the one we had with the lieutenant just now are really key, and bringing that information directly to parents and to children themselves.
And I want to emphasize, we offer these things for free. We offer those programs for schools for free. We have an amazing speakers bureau that will go to any community group and offer, somebody speaking to them for free. That, there's no cost to this. We need to get it to everybody.
And we have some wonderful survivors who share their stories as well, and from their experiences, which are, I think, very helpful, because sometimes you feel like it couldn't happen to you or someone sometimes we might be able to understand some of what happens on the internet with kids, but when you start thinking about the other pieces, you're like, oh no, that would never happen. But and I think we obviously know, because we've come in contact with enough to know that it can really happen to anyone, and that grooming, as you shared, is really the key.
And I would say, we've got a wonderful survivor consultant, Gina Cavallo, who works with the coalition, so she really can bring that into communities as well, so people can understand what it's actually like to go through that.
So before we wrap up, I just want to make sure to bring a shout out and some attention to an amazing opportunity that everyone watching can be part of helping support and doing their part to help the coalition and their work. As you probably know, because if anyone's working in the private sector, how expensive it is to do anything from, redoing flyers and brochures to doing a website, cutting up with a logo, how all of these specialties, because of the talent you need to do them, are very expensive. And when you start to think about those costs in a nonprofit budget for organizations like the YWCA or the coalition, they're also very needed because that's how we keep people engaged in our work. But at the same time, the cost sometimes is so prohibitive that we are not able to necessarily, take advantage of some of the opportunities that would, really help elevate and, engage folks in our work. But we have a tremendous opportunity. The coalition is a finalist in a contest that is really all about your help, and you can help. So Kate, let's tell everyone about what they can do and what the exciting news is here.
Right. So we're one of the 5 finalists. We're the only New Jersey organization who was a finalist in the contest. So we really hope everybody will go onto this webpage, thinkso.com/giveabrand, and vote every day, and ask their friends to vote every day up until June 11th. And that's going to win us $50,000 of a rebrand, which basically that's our entire operating budget every year anyway. We couldn't afford it the other way. So by just doing that small thing every day when you're home, some people have great ideas. Stick a sticker on your coffee pot every morning and just go and vote for us. But most of all, share with your friends to also vote, maximize that vote, because it's going to be worth a great deal to us. And it's going to really help raise awareness and help us brand better so that we can draw more people into this conversation, make people aware, and then hopefully protect their friends and family and community members from human trafficking just by knowing what it is.
Yes, I was going to say, you never really know how, the next action of an action, will come. And by helping promote this contest and getting the information out, again, this might help get the information about the coalition much more prevalent and much in a stronger way in your community, and help someone in your family or one of your neighbors. And it's so easy to do. I know myself here, we've talked about, all of us wanting more likes and the dopamine that happens with that. Well, I made sure to post it on my social media pages, and I've asked all of my friends to share it as well. And this is a place I want to see a lot of likes and a lot of activity. I'm willing to risk the dopamine for the $50,000. But we definitely want people voting. Again, it's a wonderful way, since we are home right now and many people are connected to devices and stuck on emails and stuck on Zooms. It's a great conversation piece to end a meeting with. People really want to do something that's going to have an impact. And as silly and little as this may seem, it is not at all. It actually can have a great impact. We've been watching the numbers, and some days we're in second place, some days, we're moving up and down. But we want it. We want to be in first place. We really want to bring this into New Jersey, and you all can help us do that. So we have the links attached. We showed them on a screen. It's sitting there right now, right under Kate's name, but the links will be attached to in the comments here. And we really do ask not only that you vote, and not only that you vote regularly up until now to June 11th, but that we ask your friends, your families, your contacts to vote as well. And we also ask that you get more information about all the links. They've already been attached that the lieutenant was sharing, and we've already asking that you get more information about the coalition, learn about this issue. You will be shocked and amazed how it's happening right in your towns, it's happening right in your neighborhoods, and that it's touching people in your life once you start to look into it. And the fact that you individually, by educating yourself and by having the knowledge to help protect others, can make an impact is hopefully will empower you to know that, together we can end human trafficking, which is obviously, our goal. So I really would like to thank the lieutenant and Kate for sharing all this important information today. Please stay connected to the coalition. The lieutenant is so gracious to do events in our community. And obviously we've been doing a lot of remote opportunities for families and community members to participate in. Please stay linked and see what's upcoming like like the Facebook page, the Instagram page, stay connected on all the social media, Twitter, and that way you can know what's going on. And also, you'll get reminders to vote for the brand campaign if you do that as well. And again, it's never too young to have conversations with your children. I just want to share again, it's jarring, as much as obviously I do a lot of this work, so I spend a tremendous amount of time talking to my children about these issues. Even with that, I can overhear my son saying, so and so just asked me to help him build his mind. It's not like he was asking me anything bad, and having to kind of redirect that conversation again and say, well, it's possibly the beginning of a different conversation. So that's why you can't just answer them, and you have to talk to us first. And, we're sitting here, and, so it is, it's not a conversation you have to have once parents. It's a conversation you have to have over and over again. And, Kate actually said a game that I don't know what it is yet, so I'm guessing as they get older, the games change. Obviously,
this is Animal Crossing is actually, I think it's all ages. It's
but
John will probably tell me that it's not as safe as it feels right now. But that the thing is, start having fun conversations,
right?
And then just start to ask the questions. You want to honestly, traffickers and predators are just trying to get into your kids' life.
Yeah.
So just make sure you know as much about their online lives as predators get to find out. So don't let the predators win. You want to be in your kids' lives so that if anything happens, they're going to come to you first.
To you. Exactly. And whatever age and stage they're at, it's a conversation you need to continue to have for sure. And even now with TikTok and all these other new opportunities, as fun as they all seem, again, it's just widening the playing field for the predators to get to our children. So with that, look, it's Monday. We hope you have a wonderful week. We hope everyone is staying healthy and taking care of themselves. We know that this is a challenging time. We're trying to bring you opportunities to be inspired and engaged. But as I always say, mind your mind, check in when you can, check out when you need to. Check on your neighbors and friends, and shoot up a flare if you need something as well. There's both your people around and organizations that are here to support and help. Just make sure someone knows what you need so that we can help. Later this week, tomorrow, we have another also important conversation. We'll be talking with folks from the Center for Food Action about how we can support folks that are food insecure right now, and folks that are having trouble paying rent, and all of these issues. Sometimes we think about this being a very specific population of person, but right now with the highest number of unemployment that we've seen, and the impact of COVID, and people being ill, these issues have skyrocketed. Organizations like Center for Food Action are really stepping up and helping our community. And again, this is another place and way that it's important for you to know about the services available, and also ways that you can help. On Wednesday, for our small business owners in particular, we know that if you've had to do the pivot, one of the ways that you've gotten word out about your business is really using your website. So we've invited Sandra Ciano to come join us, talk about how to optimize your website during COVID. I know that it might not have been an area that you were focusing with your business, but suddenly that's where your business is happening from. So she is the President and CEO of Web Design for Women. So she's a great opportunity to get some information. And we have great shows for you for the rest of the week too, but we'll leave it there. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you again to Kate and to the Lieutenant. Stay connected with all the organizations through social media, and have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye.